Hello boys and girls, I'm David.
And I'm Frank.
And we're Virginia Trekkers. And we're here in Glen Allen for their Harvest Day Festival.
Today you're going to see molasses making, corn husk or decobbing of corn, tobacco harvesting,
and lots of other cool stuff. So boys and girls, come on, let's go! One very important crop they grew in Meadow Farm was sorghum.
It became popular in the South, particularly and everything came out of the port between the states. Because the Yankees had blockaded all the ports coming into the South, so they couldn't get any sweetener.
This machine, run by horsepower, would squeeze the juice out of the sorghum, and then it would be collected in a bucket, and they would boil it and turn it into sugar. But sorghum wasn't the only sweetener they had available in the South. Hello boys and girls, I'm David and I'm here taking care of the bees right now. And I have to wear this outfit so I don't get stung. The only place the bees can sting me is my hands. Now, these bees, farmers would keep bees back in those days to make honey. They didn't have sugar in those days. And so honey was used to sweeten like their cakes and their cookies and things like that, or their tea. Besides tea, they'd also drink milk, coffee, and fruit juice. They grew apples on Meadow Farm. Fresh apple cider, straight from the press. Cheers.
Alright, we're at an apple press. At the end of the season, they would take all the apples, drop them into here, and then use this big wheel and axle, a simple machine, turn it, and it's crushing all the apples. It's turning it into juice, which comes down into this bucket here. They use another simple machine. Look, a wheel and axle and a screw at the same time, and they keep turning this and turning this and turning this, and press all the apple bits into juice. Comes out right here down at the bottom.
But perhaps the most important crop that they grew at Meadow Farm, and a lot of farms in the Piedmont region, was tobacco. Alright boys and girls, here we are at the tobacco farm, and tobacco was very important in Virginia. It was one of their prime economic resources, one of their natural resources they used. Now what they would do is they'd take the leaves and they'd tie them up into ropes like this to smoke or chew, and then if they wanted to sell them, they'd pack them up in big biscuits like this. And when they go to the store and they have to buy the biscuit, the tobacco biscuit, they just put it in the machine and they'd cut off a certain amount. And they just go, and you'd have a nice little piece like that. So this is a tobacco curing place. Now, if you were going to bring the camera around and show you what it looks like inside. And in here is where they cure the tobacco. Can you see it? So they kind of hang it up in there to dry.
6 days.
6 days. So it's nice and yellow and leathery. Corn was another important crop that Dr. Sheppard grew.
Corn, once it was dry, they take the cobs, take the husk.
They are, right here.
Taking all the kernels off the cob, turning into feed for the animals on your farm.
No, you just Why don't we go do
And then your cobs and your husks were used for compost, which are put back in the soil for next year's crops.
We've seen a lot of cool tools they used back in those days on a farm. This table is full of some more cool tools. Let's see if you can find the simple machines in each one. Hello boys and girls. This is the way that they used to do eggs back in the olden days. Before they had those beaters, this is how they would do it. And what kind of simple machine is that? That's right, it's a wheel and axle.
If you wanted peanuts or any other type of nuts on top of your food, you put them in here, flip it upside down, another wheel and axle.
And look at this awesome machine. I'm not really sure what it does, but those are some powerful gears there. We later learned that this was an apple peeler.
Alright, what tool is this? What simple machine? That's right, 2 levers put together, and then we have an ice grabber, ice pick, so you can move big blocks of ice.
Hey boys and girls, here we are inside the wood shed. And there's a bunch of tools here that they don't really use nowadays, but they used them a long time ago. They're very important. They actually made a lot of their own tools in those days, didn't they, Frank?
Yes, they did. Well, let's take a quick tour. We have a shaving press here. Somebody would sit here, hold their piece of wood that they'd want shaved.
Be careful of not having a blade in the seat when you sit
And
down.
use the draw knife that Mr. Clough is sitting on to shave the wood.
Right here, you just shave it.
This right here, this big huge stone, would be for sharpening your tools on your farm. This big tool back here
Let's demo that.
is a 2-man saw. There were no chainsaws for cutting trees down, cutting lumber down. It was a 2-man job, 2-person job. You sit there and pull back and forth, back and forth, back and forth to get your trees cut, your logs cut for your farm.
People back in those days were pretty strong. Here we are at the Basket Weaving Center, and back in those days, women made their own baskets. Usually, colonial baskets were made from tree saplings. This woman is demonstrating how she weaves the basket.
In the apple basket. And it's going to have a hump in the middle, and what that would do is when they would go out in the orchards to get the apples would lay down in this part and build up, and then they would not go around by the time they got from the orchards to the house, and then there would be fruits, and the air would flow through them.
Plants weren't only used to make baskets, they also used plants to make cloth. Here we're going to learn how they make cloth out of flax.
Flax spray. It's sort of breaking off the parts covering around the fibers. So you hang on here and work this. You sure? There you go. And work this with your hand and pull it towards you to break off the tough outer. That's it. Yeah. Okay.
After breaking the flax, they would scotch the flax with a wooden scotching knife to get rid of the straw. And the next step was to run it through the hackles. There were different size hackles for getting rid of different size pieces of straw. This is a real small hackles. And this is a bigger, sharper hackles. And the last step was to turn the flax into thread using a spindle. These ladies are demonstrating how to use it because we weren't allowed to, and we didn't know how to use it anyway. Next stop is the blacksmith shop. This is where they made their own metal tools and instruments. Here you can see the blacksmith's apprentice using a lever to pump air through the bellows into the fire. This kept the fire nice and hot so they could heat up the metal and mold it into different shapes.
Down out of the fire. What we're doing now, we've heated the metal to make it easier to bend, easier to work. He's hammering it on the anvil.
So we've seen how they had to make a lot of their own things on the farm. Now let's visit his house. This house is actually owned by Mr. Sheppard, and he was alive during the Civil War. That's right, boys and girls, during the Civil War when Abe Lincoln was president.
And he was a physician, and he would actually come to your house if you were sick. You didn't have to go anywhere if you were sick.
Dr. John Sheppard lived with his wife and 9 children at Meadow Farm. During the Civil War, the Union troops marched right through his land.
The 2 sons lived in this room. Under the bed is the chamber pot. There are no bathrooms in this house. If you were sick or it was bad weather, you got to use the chamber pot. Then in the morning, the servants threw it out. If it was bad weather, you had to go out and you could do it. Good weather, into the woods. The teacher lived with them in this room. Teacher had this room. She was a cousin of the family. She gave most of the lessons to the boys. They had algebra, geometry, and some science. The girls were also taught to read, write, but it was more important for the girls to have beautiful penmanship and to know how to keep accounts because they would have to manage a farm when they were grown, and of course the girls would be expected to marry. All the girls and the governess slept in this room, and this is a trundle bed, and there might be 2 or 3 little girls sleeping across the bed like this. And the governess and one of the children might sleep there, the little girls. Baby over here. These are the children's toys, some of them. Remember, the children were outside a whole lot during the day. A lot during the day. And everybody had jobs and everybody worked.
That's a good point to make.
Here's the bathroom in this room. No indoor plumbing. This is the toothbrush. It's not plastic. I can touch this because it's not an antique. This part of the toothbrush is made from the bone of a cow, and the bristles are from a pig hair. Wow. And Dr. Sheppard budgeted for his family 1 toothbrush a year. Not 1 toothbrush for each person, but 1 toothbrush. Yeah. Mommy, daddy, 9 kids. And you had to brush your teeth once a week, whether they needed it or not. This is the bathroom, water in here, pour the water from the pitcher into this. Every morning, wash face, hands, neck. Once a week, bath.
Where's the bath?
Well, they bring up a tin tub right here.
Uh-huh.
And the servants would fill it with hot water. And Daddy got the first bath, Mommy got the second bath, and then the children on down the line.
Yeah.
So that's why, you know, they say don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's because the baby got the last bath.
We've had a great time visiting a harvest festival in the Piedmont region, and we've learned a lot. Now let's end with a bull ride, because what would a harvest festival be without one?
I'm Francis Patrick. Welcome to the Virginia Harvest Festival in Glen Allen, Virginia. Come for it.
Hello, boys and girls. I'm Mr. Clough, and we're at the Harvest Festival in Glen Allen, Virginia. Yeah!